Arcadian Vanguard presents The Wrestling News in your daily wrestling newscast for Saturday, September 3rd, 2022. Good morning, I'm Mike Sempervive. WWE's Clash at the Castle premium live event from Principality Stadium in Cardiff, Wales is just hours away, and as of yesterday, was a near-complete sellout. According to yesterday's Wrestling Observer newsletter, the company has sold approximately 65,000 seats out of the 67,500-person setup. Only 1,000 seats remained unsold as of yesterday, with the remainder comprising of comps and other free giveaways. The event begins today at 1 p.m. Eastern Time and features Roman Reigns defending the undisputed Universal title against Drew McIntyre in the first WWE Stadium event held in the UK since SummerSlam 92. In the go-home segment involving today's Clash at the Castle event, the celebration of Roman Reigns' second anniversary as WWE Universal Champion was spoiled by Drew McIntyre last night on SmackDown in Detroit. McIntyre, who will be Reigns' challenger later on today at Clash at the Castle, left the champ laying to close out last night's show. Also on hand to celebrate Reigns' milestone were Sami Zayn and undisputed tag team champions the Usos, who were all attacked by McIntyre during the segment as well. Also on SmackDown, Ronda Rousey's in-ring suspension was lifted by WWE official Adam Pearce. Rousey had been suspended in storyline stemming from her attack of a referee following her match with Liv Morgan in July at SummerSlam. In other SmackDown results, Shinsuke Nakamura defeated Happy Corbin, Butch beat Ludwig Kaiser, Karrion Kross defeated Drew Gulak, Hit Row defeated Maximum Male Models, and the Viking Raiders defeated the New Day. Meanwhile, airing last night on TNT on a pre-recorded edition of AEW Rampage taped earlier this week, the Dark Order trio of Adam Page, Johnny Silver, and Alex Reynolds defeated Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends to advance to the finals of the AEW World Trios title tournament. Page, Silver, and Reynolds will face Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks Sunday night at All Out in the finals of the tournament. Paul Levesque spoke at length with Ariel Helwani in an exclusive interview for BT Sport posted yesterday. Levesque discussed a wide range of topics in the interview, including the transition of power to him from his predecessor and father-in-law, Vince McMahon.
We use the term all the time in the business, chocolate and vanilla, right? I want chocolate, you want vanilla. One of us has to pick a flavor. He would always pick the flavor. Now it's my turn to pick the flavor. It's all good. It's all ice cream, right? But it's my time to pick the flavor, and I have to be confident in those decisions. And I can't look back and say, well, what would Vince want to have for a flavor? Because it just wouldn't be authentic then.
Levesque was among the top WWE executives mentioned in WWE's latest SEC filing made yesterday, which provided updated salaries and corporate titles for some of the company's chief officers. The filing officially lists Stephanie McMahon as the new WWE chairwoman and co-CEO in the wake of her father's retirement, and also officially lists Nick Khan as co-CEO. Levesque is now listed as Chief Content Officer, and Frank Riddick III as President, Chief Financial Officer, and Chief Administrative Officer. Prior to their promotions earlier this summer, Stephanie McMahon had been Chief Brand Officer, and Khan had been President and Chief Revenue Officer. This is the first time Levesque has been publicly listed as Chief Content Officer. His previous titles following Vince McMahon's retirement had been Executive Vice President of Talent Relations and Head of Creative. Stephanie McMahon, Levesque, Khan, and Riddick all received significant salary increases in the new filing, as well as annual performance-based grants in the multiple millions starting in 2023. The complete SEC filing can be found on WWE's corporate website. Rumors of Malakai Black's discontent in AEW continue, with Raj Giri of Wrestling Inc. reporting that Black did request his release from the company and was denied. The reasons given for Black's unhappiness in the company are related to personal mental health concerns, as well as frustration over not being booked near the top of AEW as of late. According to sources close to Black who spoke to Giri, Black has been considering taking a long and perhaps permanent break from the business in order to sort out some personal issues. As of now, Black remains scheduled to appear at All Out this Sunday night, teaming with House of Black partners Buddy Matthews and Brody King to take on the team of Sting, Darby Allin, and Miro. Tony Khan spoke to Forbes in an exclusive interview posted yesterday in which he addressed concerns over CM Punk's backstage influence in AEW. In particular, Khan made it clear that Punk's influence had nothing to do with Colt Cabana switching from AEW to the Ring of Honor roster when his contract came due. Punk and Cabana had been longtime friends, but their relationship was strained following financial disputes that arose as a result of a defamation lawsuit brought against them by WWE Dr. Chris Amon after Punk had appeared on Cabana's Art of Wrestling podcast in 2014. Olympic gold medalist Gable Steveson could be a long way from debuting in WWE, if he even debuts at all, according to a report in this week's Wrestling Observer. Dave Meltzer described the attitude of WWE creative towards Steveson as cold and indicated that the new head of creative, Paul Levesque, may not be as high on Steveson as his predecessor, Vince McMahon, was. In particular, the report cited Stevenson's apparent lack of progress in training as a major cause for the change. Steveson was initially signed to WWE in September of 2021 and pushed heavily on WWE TV early as a future star to watch. Meltzer reported that there had been a plan to fast-track him to TV last spring, but now he isn't in discussions or future plans currently in place. In Impact news, Masha Slamovich will challenge Jordynne Grace for the Impact Knockouts World title at Bound for Glory on October 7th in Albany, New York. Slamovich was named number one contender after defeating Deonna Purrazzo, one half of the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, on Thursday night's edition of Impact Wrestling. Slamovich is undefeated in Impact since signing with the company earlier on this year. As we reported earlier this week, as a condition of granting Lady Frost's request for a release from her contract, Impact officials had asked Frost to put over Slamovich. That match has not occurred, and Frost remains off Impact TV. We now look at the latest injury news. Filing this report for the Wrestling News is Lou Kipilman.
In WWE injury news, Roderick Strong is out of action, according to this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter. The nature of Strong's injury and the amount of time he'll be away from the ring isn't known, but the injury has delayed a storyline WWE had reportedly planned for the most recent episode of NXT, in which Strong would have had a falling out with his Diamond Mine stablemates. Strong hasn't wrestled in NXT since his August 9th match with Apollo Crews. In AEW injury news, Kyle O'Reilly is recovering from surgery. The AEW performer posted a story to his Instagram account, showing himself in the hospital following the procedure, and alluded that he had undergone neck fusion. O'Reilly spoke out back in July about nagging injuries and how he'd been working hurt for years. His last match took place on the June 8th edition of Dynamite. As reported previously on the Wrestling News, O'Reilly's longtime tag team partner Bobby Fish is said to have recently parted ways with AEW. Faction mate Adam Cole has been out of action with his own injuries. It remains to be seen how long it will be until O'Reilly is cleared to return to action. Filing this report for the Wrestling News, I'm Lou Kipilman.
Paul Heyman's return to TV may be imminent, according to a report in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and could even take place later today at WWE's Clash at the Castle Premium Live event in Cardiff, Wales. The report indicates that Heyman is present in Cardiff, but it has not yet been confirmed that he will be appearing on the show at Reigns' side or in any other storyline capacity. Heyman hasn't been seen since taking an F5 through the announce table from Brock Lesnar during Lesnar's last man standing match with Roman Reigns at SummerSlam in July. In further business news, WWE will be working with Warner Brothers Discovery in the United Kingdom as part of a deal between WBD and BT Group, the company that's carried WWE programming in the UK since 2020. According to an official press release, WBD and BT Group have signed a 50-50 agreement to form a joint sports venture which will carry a wide variety of sports programming in the UK. In addition to WWE, that would include the Olympic Games, Premier League Soccer, the UFC, boxing, and more. The new deal could potentially prevent AEW from being carried on Warner platforms in the UK. As the owner of TNT and TBS, WMD is AEW's official media partner, and the recent Warner Discovery merger had fueled speculation of increased AEW visibility in the UK. However, WWE has often included a contractual clause in its media agreements prohibiting any other wrestling companies from being carried on the same platforms as its programming. It's not yet known if such clause was included in the new sports joint venture agreement. AEW is currently available in the UK on FIGHT and ITV. And finally, Pro Wrestling Noah has announced details on another leg of Keiji Mutoh's retirement tour. The bout takes place on September 25th in Nagoya and sees the man better known in North America as the Great Muta teaming with Kazuyuki Fujita against Masakatsu Funaki and Katsuhiko Nakajima. The event was announced on today's show in Osaka, where Mutoh was making his final appearance in the city. The Great Muta teamed with Nosawa Rangai and New Japan's Great Okan to defeat Keno Tadasuke and Manabu Soya. Mutoh is scheduled to wrestle again on October 30th without his gimmick, before having his last match in the character of the Great Muta on January 23, 2023. The main event of today's show saw Kaito Kiyomiya defeat Hideki Suzuki, the one-time Hachimura, in NXT's Diamond Mine in the deciding match of Pro Wrestling Noah's annual N1 Victory League. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we'll be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the wrestling news. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.